And a good Wednesday midday to you, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin Cities Subaru, and 802 Honda, all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. Big picture, we have a bit of a trough in the East Coast, and this is extending from an area of low pressure east of Hudson Bay in Quebec, and a ridge of higher pressure across the western part of the United States, extending a bit north into the western part of Canada. The flow is basically feeding in some much colder air, so looking at the current temperatures, we're seeing the 0 or minus temperatures to the north, of course. Much warmer temperatures in the United States, the lower 48, minus the Great Lakes in the northeast U.S. This is what's going to be heading in later on this coming weekend, especially transitioning on Friday as well as into Saturday. The other thing we have going for us here is a little bit of flurry action, just kind of flirting with the Canadian border, kind of border skirmishes, if you will. It's going to be doing that for quite a few days. And again, this is associated with some lingering clouds and moisture with some Great Lake effect moisture sources heading downwind. Looking at 2-meter temperature anomalies here, and what you can see is where the coldest weather is up in Canada, and the warmer weather that is beginning to push in to Vermont as we speak. This will be here especially during the day tomorrow. On the left, we have the European model. On the right, we have the Gfs Ensemble model. So running that computer model, what you can see is this next charge of colder air. Now, this is anomalous cold that is the coldest in the entire northern hemisphere, working in across eastern parts of Canada and right into the northeast United States. You can see it lands on Vermont on Saturday morning. The GFS is also similar. All the modeling world right now is in very, very good agreement. The Canadian as well. And you can see that that just lingers right over the top of us before what we'll be developing here, a nor'easter. This kind of cold air kind of deal here, this sort of setup, can form what we call a Miller A nor'easter. They take a track basically in the Gulf coastal states, cross the Florida Isthmus, and then track basically along and hug the eastern seaboard and develop into a very mature nor'easter as they do. And this is exactly what the program is calling for, with a generation of that warm air advection powering up the low pressure system near the coast and cold interior. That's a recipe for some good snow. And then after that, we do see a little bit of a minor drop with the next Arctic outbreak, but this is going to be well beyond the period. We're talking 12Z on Wednesday morning on the 19th. That would be the middle part of next week. On the left-hand side is the European model. On the right-hand side is the Gfs Ensemble. So simplifies things with the Ensemble. But what you can see is a little bit of border skirmishes here. The models are in pretty good agreement. And you have the area of low pressure associated with this dragging in some moisture off the Great Lakes. It's going to be flirting with this off and on, with the worst of it probably Thursday night into the day on Friday. And you can kind of see what's going on. We have one out to sea wet nor'easter. That's kind of the lead system, kind of opening the door. You can see how that's progressing. It's going to be running into a little bit of a blocking area of higher pressure. But this is the system we're watching that's going to be affecting us on Monday. And this is a very cold Arctic outbreak that's going to be pushing on in. So the way the model's set up, you can see how this is through 06Z. And this area of higher pressure associated with that cold is going to be setting up the table basically for this area of low pressure to cross through here and then hug the coastline as it develops into a very mature nor'easter. And so you can see the GFS on the right, the European on the left. It's a thing of beauty when these do happen. And we're looking at pristine conditions with snow, but some mix, potentially some rain across the coastal areas. For Vermont, it looks like it's going to be primarily all snow and potentially healthy, at least a moderate snowfall. And then what happens behind that, lighter snows, maybe some upslope on Tuesday. That's beyond the period until an area of higher pressure builds in along about Tuesday night into the day on Wednesday. And then a secondary system, a clipper system, will also produce more snow. And the models are in very, very good agreement this far out at this point in time. Looking at the antecedent conditions, we're looking at Long Island and New York City, but we can see where there is just a little bit of snow in some locations. But as we head up further up to the north here, we'll drag it up. We got snow in Connecticut, we got snow in Massachusetts, snow in Vermont. And kind of working at north, I'm a little bit more recognizable here. Getting up toward Lake Champlain, and just a little bit of ice in some locations on Lake Champlain at this point in time, and it's mostly in our northern areas. Looking at the GFS Ensemble centered on Montpelier, Vermont, what you can see here is one major storm, and that is the nor'easter. This is our Thursday night, Friday morning shot of snow, and again, this is centered on Montpelier, Vermont. Looking at total amounts of QPF, we're not looking at anything with high precipitable water, so the atmosphere is really rather dry, but that's how some of our biggest snowfall set up, and that indeed that'll be the case. Looking at total snowfall, just for kicks right here, the GFS, the European, the Canadian model are in really decent agreement. It's quite amazing to see that happen, but roughly about 6 to 8 inches by the time probably going into Monday night or Tuesday. And looking at some of the temperatures, this is the 2-meter temperatures, and comparing that to at 850 millibars or hectopascals. This is the 850 temperature. What this shows, the 0-degree isotherm, so anything that's colder than that, lower than that, is going to be in the form of snow. If things were to rise, that would be in the form of some mixed precipitation types. And to sort of illustrate the point, you could see a little bit of rain forecast here, but that's not going to happen. I really believe that this is going to be all snow with a coastal low track east of Vermont. Things have switched out. We're having some precipitation in the Pacific Northwest and mostly into British Columbia. A little bit more of a La Nina pattern now, with that northwesterly flow bringing in the cold Canadian air, and kind of a storm track with Alberta Clipper systems. But this is the main storm track here, and this will be the storm track for that nor'easter. 2-meter temperatures with the climate reanalyzer shows that cold air across Canada, that's what's going to be dropping in. Note it's not terrifically cold yet, but in terms of anomalies, it will be once it ends up over us. Otherwise, we're looking at fairly warm anomalies, almost coast to coast now. So for the next 5 days, the meteorological output statistics show that temperatures will be running anywhere from about 3 to 6 degrees below normal for this time of year, as weighted with these ups and downs. And then about 3 days later, you're looking at even colder conditions with that focus of Saturday, -9, -12 up to the north and west of our location. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.